Okay, and it's 11 o'clock, we're ready at the chair's discretion. Yep, what's that?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here and thanks for coming. I will call the Waupaca County Executive Committee to order on this Monday. It is just a little about after 11. Do we have the open meeting session statement fulfilled legally?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call sheet has gone around, I see. Review and approve the agenda. We have a motion.
Second.
A motion by Quisman and a second by Fred. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion is carried. Okay, we got the minutes of the previous meeting of December 3rd, 2021.
Craig moves to approve.
Greg moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Murphy seconded. Any questions regarding that? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that motion is carried and the minutes are approved. The reason why we're here is item 3, amend chapter 2 of the Waupaca County Court of Ordinance, rules of the governing body.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, sir.
Ted Burnett, Director of Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
The reason that we're here is a couple months ago, it was discovered that there was a bit of a discrepancy between the standing committees within the Department of Health and Human Services. Those are committees that are statutorily recognized to help provide input and guidance to the programs, but not necessarily oversight of the department like the DHHS board, which is also a standing committee of the Board of Supervisors. The ordinance 2.13 uses the term entitlements, and the definition for citizen members was fairly broad and spoke to having their genesis in statutes. That created a bit of a problem for the department and also for the county in that the standing committees of the DHS department who had their genesis in statutes or been driven by administrative rule don't really meet the criteria here, but the use of the word entitlements would subject the county to increased cost of $15,000 to $20,000 annually. So after a considerable discussion, it had been determined and brought to the LJESS committee that maybe a modification of language should occur in order to address the issue. The issue was also brought to the DHS board 2 months in a row, and you can see in the highlighted area the recommended language change or addition of language that should be or were being recommended to add to this particular ordinance, which recognizes those citizen members on those steering and input committees as volunteers, and that the DHHS board would then be given the discretion and decision to determine whether or not compensation should be provided and in what situations. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. The other issue is that there had been a recommendation that the word entitlements be changed to compensation. And Barry or Pat, I think that sums it up.
So then in 2.13, where it says entitlements, that would be changed to compensation. That's for Christie, so that when it goes to county board, it gets the compensation, or if it, whatever. But then I agreed, being on the DHHS board, that because some people are volunteers and some people are mandatorily, statutorily have to be there, if we call it compensation, as well as then the DHHS committee decides who gets the compensation. If you're a county board supervisor, you get compensation for every committee you're on. Doesn't make any difference whether state says yes or no if we do it. But for volunteers, for the DHHS subcommittee, whatever, we said that should be up to the board because sometimes it's always been a voluntary thing. It shouldn't necessarily be that now everybody should get paid, like Ted said, then it's like lots of money and it's been voluntary. Let's say that nobody comes and nobody wants to come and you might have to offer them compensation. That's something the DHHS board would have to then put in their budget. That's the bottom line, right, Jerry?
Very much so, Pat. Yeah, that's what we've gone over a few times, and this is the genesis of what came out of it.
I have a
Randy?
question. This is, I've read this before and this is the first time this popped into my head here, so it might be a little slow on the uptake. But where it talks about considered volunteers and any compensation provided to the volunteers shall be at the discretion of the Health and Human Services Board. When you say any compensation, does that mean $5, $10, $15, or does that mean per diem? Because I think if you mean per diem, then let's say, and per diem is, you know, compensation per diem, however you want to word that, is at the discretion of the Health and Human Services Board, so that we're saying what that amount is. You know what I'm saying? Like if Health and Human Services Board decides any compensation and they say, well, we're going to give them $10.
Oh, no. That wasn't the intent, but I agree with you. It should say per diem / mileage, because some people
Okay.
do get paid mileage for coming, and that is a form of compensation. So you're right. Per diems and mileage will be at the discretion of the DHS.
So maybe it would be then, and then take out that any compensation and replace that with per diem / mileage.
Yes, yes. Great.
Well, Mandy, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I have to admit in the meetings, it was never brought up that way, and it's so obvious now.
This is the first time thinking of it. I don't know what.
We knew what we meant, we just didn't say it very clearly. So yes, thank you.
Oh, that's fine. So now does it have to go back to LGIS?
Oh,
That's what my question was gonna be. Did that change? Because they did,
No,
did
no,
just-
it doesn't have to go backwards to LGIS.
it does not?
No, and I
Okay.
agree with Pat's suggestion on the title. It should be something besides entitlements if we're taking entitlements out of the paragraph. Thanks.
Mr. Fredwitz?
Mr. Chair, I just one question of curiosity, probably more so than anything else. What precipitated this? How did this arise out of the blue or?
It came pretty much, it came as a request for compensation by one of the citizen members,
Oh,
and
that's
then
nice.
reviewing the updated ordinance, which was updated, I believe, in April of last year, and went into effect, I believe, in October of last year as well.
I have a question for Chairman Jerry there.
Yes.
So did I hear right? This could have been an expense of the county to $15,000 to $20,000 a year.
At its maximum, yes.
Okay. Well, I guess really we should get a motion on the floor before we do any more questions. Mr. Zog?
The motion.
Mr. Zog made the motion and second by Jim.
Thank you.
Any questions or discussion further? Dennis?
Would this have to go back to LGIS?
No.
It doesn't.
No, Diane was on the line. She spoke and said it does not have to go back to LGIS.
Yeah, she just answered.
Clarification.
Yeah, good. No, that's good to know.
So would the motion have to read as amended? No.
Yes,
Compared to this,
yeah.
yes.
compared to what's written, so the motion is as
Hmm.
amended in discussion, or I'm not sure how it would be worded.
Yeah.
And instead of compensation, the per diem and mileage.
Mileage and then entitlements in the heading
Title,
is changed to compensation.
And just, that's what you said, Mr. Zog, right? So I heard.
It's called a friendly amendment. That way we don't have to argue going back to LGS.
And
Diane already said.
then we have a second? Oh, yes, Jim did. I'm sorry. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. So soon.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Christopher to adjourn.
You got something else, Fred?
Was that a motion, Fred? Who's got the second here?
I'll second
I
it.
guess we don't have to have a second. We're adjourned.
Non-debatable motion.
We are adjourned, non-debatable, that's right.
Well,